just to find the loudest tears. We sat down by the fire, knowing we could aim higher, but we didn't know that yet. So if you want something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees, waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my farmland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club. I remember the ocean moon, memories die out too hard. But we were traveling the mountains just to find the loudest tears. We sat down by the fire, knowing we could aim higher, but we didn't know that yet. So if you want something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees, waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my farmland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club. Walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the World Open, and after being treated to an absolute classic earlier on today of Shaun Murphy against Ronnie O'Sullivan, we're about to have part 2 and potentially another great match featuring the world champion and featuring Gary Wilson, the former winner here in China earlier in the season in Wuhan Open, and after he was the runner-up to Xiao Guodong and lost out to the, sorry, not the winner but the runner-up to Xiao Guodong when he lost out 10 frames to 9. And now, of course, the man that needs no introduction in China or anywhere in the snooker world, Zhao Xington, already managed to win 2 tournaments this season of ranking events, if you don't even count Saudi Arabia into that account. So then, 5-2 if they're both playing well, so good for Wilson. If they're both playing well, it's going to be a really interesting match to be seeing. I feel like they're way too attacking for both of them to be playing well. But I feel like if he's going to be both of them playing equally as well to the top of their ability, then he should be around 5-2, 5-3 for Wilson. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. And I actually really want to see Zhao Xington into the quarterfinal. Just generically, because I know very much who the winner of this pair will play. You'll be either Marco Fu or Chipchoge Inu. And I tell you what, if that match is going to be longer than 2.5 hours, that is going to be worth a forfeit for you to be making a bet on. And straight away, you can see this is the way that this match is going to go there. And hopefully for Zhao Xington, he's going to be the last shot that he misses like that. He's gone for a long shot into the left corner. He's left that red over the right corner pocket now, after it drifted all the way across the blackboard cushion. These two players are always going to be taking their risks, but which one of them, and by asking a question which one, is basically going to be either Gary Wilson takes the foot off the pedal slightly, or he's just going to try and outplay Zhao Xington, which, you know, some would say is not particularly a nice idea, me included. I feel like he needs to try and switch the game up a little bit and play an odd safety shot here and there. Try to make sure Zhao Xington is going to be forced into those type of errors. And then when those errors come, he needs to be making sure that he takes them and scores the maximum number of points that he possibly can. So straight away, there was an introduction here for him to try and get this break up and running. Manages to send the cue ball on towards the green spot here and drifts that cue ball all the way down the table. So then, he's got the position which is set up nicely for him to start the break, but it's going to be quite a problem for him to try and win and take this frame all the way in terms of making it a break of 70 or 80 points or anything higher than that. If you talk about the previous couple of matches, Wilson nearly managed to see himself knocked out after losing out to Aaron Hill in the previous round, but in the end managed to still battle his way through past the Irishman. And in a decider, which Aaron Hill could have actually won there, probably had he not received the yellow to be on the pink spot instead, and all the points that he scored were basically reds and yellows, and you're not going to be able to climb your lead back up there. But Wilson straight away, I said this position was going to be complicated for him. I didn't think he was going to be that bad. He decided that he was way too straight on the black, so he needs to play a shot of either one of those reds to be lined up into the middle, or either one of them to be lined up into the green pocket instead, which is going to be very interesting. He's got a couple of reds to choose from, but neither of them is going to be easy. And as I say, I feel like it's a bit of a weird short selection previously. I mean, how bad the position on the black must have been. I mean, if it was straight, there's nothing you can do there. There's not a gap there you can sort of play, and you can say it would have been a really tight shot for me to play. So then it's going to be a shot into the green pocket, and it was a fine margin of a shot, and he's missed it. So then Zhao Xington is going to find his way back to the table. Only 20 points scored there for Gary Wilson. Whatever he does, by the way, you know, we're talking about trying to take an extra safety shot or whatever, but that all comes before taking a chance. When it comes to being gifted a chance by Zhao Xington, you need to be having a pot success of 93% or higher, like preferably 95%, because that is going to be the percentage for Zhao Xington to match, because these are the stats that he usually rocks up with, especially with us now being down to the last 16 of the players. And the further into the tournament we go, just ask World Grand Prix and Players Championship, the better it gets for Zhao Xington. And yeah, if he's going to be able to get himself through to the quarterfinal, you know, he could still potentially meet Watchalong for the first time this season, and last season probably as well. I can't really sort of memorize either one of the two of them meeting each other before that incredible Crucible campaign last season. But the interesting thing about this particular frame is going to be the factor of, you know, Wilson was able to score 20 points, so he's taken a couple of those reds. Now, Zhao Xington clearly committed to take one last red, and then he's got 10 reds to try and aim in towards, sorry, 8 reds into the main bunch. He's going to try and do it with a black. He's got himself a nice angle to be set up. The cue ball connected pretty well. Well, he's unlucky there. As I say, I don't really have anything to criticize him for. It was the right shot to play. He played it in the right way. He got a really good contact on the reds. Just a couple of them have gone into the way of each other. So unless he's going to try and force a plant out of them, which will be a bit of a reckless shot, but it's not going to be the first time. Zhao is going to try and find those. He's got a long shot available, but I'm not going to say that that one's going to be particularly easy either. So he's gone for it. He's missed it. Now, where's the red going to finish? He's going to finish in quite an awkward position, that, because it's not quite close enough to the right-hand side of the table for it to be playable into the right middle, at least to me, that he looks like. And into the right corner, he should be blocked off by the blue and another red as well. So is he going to be taking this one into the middle? That seems to be the case. He has, but he's missed it. And I have to say, the way that he was aiming towards it from this camera, he always looked like he was going to catch the back jaw. And, well, it was always going to be the attacking match. As I say, for me saying that Wilson needs to play an extra shot, that's fine on paper. But if your game style is all about trying to go for it and go all-out attack, then it's not really going to work out for you. Zhao got unlucky with a previous shot that he's played on the red. Wasn't able to find one and then had to go for, once again, opportunistic long shot. Didn't manage to take it. Got a bit fortunate, so a misfortune and a fortune probably evens itself out. And now he gets himself a brilliant chance. The chance that Zhao pretty much never lets go of. And yeah, he shouldn't be letting go off this one either. He's got so many reds to try and pot into the middle, into the corner. He's going to have the luxury of taking the bold colours, the blue, the black, and even the pink in a couple of shots' time. And he also has got 11 points of an advantage to his name. Always important for someone that is the top seeded player in the match. Even though his name technically goes on the second, on the right-hand side that it is. So that's just the specifics of the draw, as he was very much at the lower end of the draw of 64 players in the first match that he had against Long Zhehyun. Is actually probably his biggest struggle so far in China in a considerable amount of time, ever since that loss to Wu Yize. Ever since then, he seemed to have gone pretty well, as I say, winning the World Grand Prix in Hong Kong. And now looking to try and get it another title, potentially. And I feel like the main focus is going to have to be on Gary Wilson. It will be a very interesting match to be watching if he is to beat Gary and face either Marco Fu or Chechenu for the style play. And then potentially could be on for a clash of Judd Trump against Zhao Xington, and with Ronnie O'Sullivan still being in the draw, being by far the favourite against Ryan Day. We could still see very much the big three, well, at least two of them, to get to the final stage. And you never know if it's going to be potentially Ronnie to try and make it all the way to the final, and then he's going to be seeing Zhao Xington or Judd Trump out there. You can't have a better setup than that. As I say, the only problem with that match of Zhao Xington and Ronnie O'Sullivan last season in the World Championship was that Ronnie obviously wasn't playing well, but also is that he came at the semi-final and not the final, because that surely would have been the definition of a final boss to the 7-time world champion for Zhao to try and beat, before eventually doing that to Mark Williams, the 3-time world champion. Now then, 38 points is going to be his advantage. It's just checking out all the reds that he's got available, but as I say, I mean, he's got them very much in his grasp, and he shouldn't have any more issues than he had at the first visit to the table. And this one was always going to be just trying to, like, he's done everything right so far in this frame, and the only reason why he hasn't managed to win the first frame in a single visit to the table was the fact of when he tried to split the bunch, the cue ball connected really well with the reds, but a couple of went in the way of each other, and that has compromised him on the exit. Had to try and get the long shot, missed that one, but got another chance after a missed opportunity from Wilson's point of view, and now sees himself to score 43 points and counting, and get himself through to 45 points of a gap, which is going to be more than enough to leave Gary Wilson very much sat in his chair throughout the remainder of this frame. So barely 15 minutes since the match has started, and we already know the winner of the first frame. It was always going to be the case, and you know, there's not a lot you can do there if you're Gary Wilson. Obviously, if your style of play and the reason why he's going to be, well, at least was in the top 16 of the players, he's not now, he's the world number 20, is because of your attacking game. You mustn't change it just because of the opposition, because the rule number 1 in snooker is that he's going to be you against the table, and of course, it's going to be quite difficult to outplay someone which is so brilliant in the attacking display, in the positional play, with a long pot game, Still something that we haven't seen today. But, make no mistake about it. If you give him a chance, he'll certainly be able to bring that part of his game to the table as well. And, could still try and have a break of 91 points here at the end. So not quite a century break, which he's got plenty of scored already this season. 68, so still with a minimal chance. Probably never going to happen with only 2 and a bit tournaments left. But, he's managed to set the record for the most centuries being made at the Crucible Theatre last season. He says that, and he certainly improved this season, especially recently, in the way that he's played the games. He says that he can't have another couple of those performances like that. And look at that. I mean, barely a couple of seconds in between the shots that he's taking. And now it is going to be the perfect start for Zhao. And after that break of 20 points from Gary Wilson, he certainly was a little bit of an insight that maybe will be a good start for very much Wilson, and make him potentially a real threat there. If he was to go 2-0 up, he would probably make him the favourite to reach the quarter-final. Instead, it is Zhao that takes all the momentum into that break of 91 points and sees himself very much in the lead there. It is Zhao 1 and it is Gary Wilson 0. By the way, the world number 1, the player that I've mentioned potentially, can be due to face Zhao in the final. Trump is playing against Robbie Williams. That currently does have a chance. Chip is currently on the break himself, scoring 40 points against Marco Fu. And I'm a bit surprised that it's so close in between the two of them. I know that their styles are going to be similar in terms of the odds. But Marco Fu, I mean, with all the respect, he's the world number 120 now. And Chab Chonu is still in the world number 45. So, especially the way that he's managed to play against Michael Holt. Marco Fu was great, but he was playing against the likes of Martin O'Donnell and Julian Boyko there. So, Zhao 5-1. Well, listen, let's have to wait and see. 81% still go for Zhao. I'm surprised with that, but positively surprised, as I say. I'm very much in here for a good Zhao win. And I just feel like you mustn't never underestimate someone like Gary Wilson, because they're always going to be able to try and prove you wrong in matches like that. You don't get someone which is a dark horse in the last 16. Quarterfinal, yes, absolutely. But you're never going to have someone that you feel like they should never be here, or we never expected them to be seen here because of the draw. You could always get a bit of a favourable thing. Like, for example, I'm not saying that was the case, but for example, Marco Fu, he didn't really have the most difficult of the opposition players. And now he's got the real test of Chipchonu from Thailand. And then potentially you could have someone like the world champion in the quarterfinal stage. So I feel like you can be saying that in the quarterfinal, in the last stage, but until that point, it's probably not fair on either one of the players. By the way, as I say, Chipchonu against Marco Fu is being played. Chipchonu should win the first frame pretty comfortably. Robbie Williams and Chomp are still battling away for who's going to be the winner of the first frame. Robbie's about to get another chance of trying to take that frame away from Chomp. And Zhang Anda against the return of Hossein Vafai. He's currently going to find himself on losing end of that frame. And Zhang Anda with a break of 87 points after managing to beat his compatriot from China of Xiao Gudong. He's now able to get himself a first frame on the board as well. Hossein himself managed to win 5 frames on the bounce and defeat Mark Williams, turn a 2-0 deficit into a 5-2 win, something that Weezer certainly has got a bit of experience in doing, after he managed to do exactly the same thing against Karen Wilson today. The world number 2 was absolutely thrashed in the second part of that match, with a fantastic clearance to win it as well at the end. Now then, the second frame is underway, and straight away, look at that, what a shot, brilliant from Zhao Xington. And finds Gary Wilson exactly behind the green there. Forces him to try and take it into the left side. Needs to be careful with that though. Doesn't want the cue ball to bounce away. And he has bounced away. So this could be another chance for Zhao Xington. He didn't wait too long to get the one in the first frame. And he might wait even less of amount of time in the second one here. Certainly going to need a couple of the extensions there. And he's going to be needing the spider. I mean, apparently he doesn't actually need an extension, which is surprising to me. But that's going to be really awkward for him to try and get this shred in. And he also needs to be very precise with his positional play on the cue ball. And talk about being precise. That probably is not the word you're going to describe that positional play with. And yeah, he was always going to get the red, to be honest with you. It wasn't too difficult of a cut. The problem was the tight angle on the cue ball, the inability to be adding any sort of spin whilst playing the shot with Spider, and he's probably going to get a touch and ball out of this one. He's not going to give a chance of potting the black. I actually thought for a second he may be able to try and get himself lined up for the paint, but the angle clearly wasn't allowing that if you've managed to end up tied up to the black ball spot. And as I say, touch and ball is going to be his for the taking, so just try and run the cue ball away from the left side cushion and on towards the bulk, using the yellow as the backup option. Could have been closer to the bulk cushion though. Could have been a lot closer, to be fair, and if he's left the red potentially available into the right corner, he's played a bad shot there. And you know, just because Wilson has lost the first frame doesn't mean anything really, and he's still going to be more than capable of trying to come back stronger, although he's going to have to try and do it on another time there, and can't afford to be having those type of chances to be missed, especially with how far away he was from the potting angle. And the same red now bounced away from the bunch and left itself very much available for Zhao Xingtong to be taking. The world champion doesn't forgive you for mistakes like that very often. He now gets himself another red to be taking. Well, I mean, if the match continues to go like that, 5-0 is going to be very much on the horizon there. For now, Zhao needs to focus on this position. But, I mean, I tell you what, this is a really bad way and timing for Wilson to try and give an opportunity like that away, because look at the reds. I mean, you've got at least 5 of them that I can see that Zhao Xingtong should be able to get through nicely. And then he's got the lower 2 reds by the lower end of the pack there set up perfectly. And I would expect a little cannon split to try and come very, very soon there for him. He's trying to do it now, which, I mean, I have to say, I'm not going to criticize him for it again, because I felt like that was the right shot to play. But this time, you are going to have to blame it on the technique. Didn't get enough power on the cue ball, and the white sort of got stuck in between those reds. So he's got a similar rest shot with the Spider as the one that he's played to get his first point in this frame. But this time around, you know, it doesn't really have the backup, and also this time around, it's going to be, as much as you would expect him to take this red on, we have seen Ronnie O'Sullivan in the 6th frame against John Murphy. He's messed up a similar type of a shot there, and he didn't even have to use the Spider at that point. All he had to do was to try and bridge over the red. That didn't really help. And of course, Trump got himself eliminated of the semi-final of the Players' Championship against John Higgins. Now then, the red is in. There was a contact to the black. And is he going to work out for Zhao Xingtong? The answer is, we shall see. Because the black has gone towards the pocket, but he finished up perfectly on the black ball cushion. I feel like he's close enough to the pocket. Zhao Xingtong will have his checks to be done with his black. I feel like I know what he's going to do with it, but whether he's going to be able to pot it, well, he should, because it's close enough to the pocket, but you also need to be, well, that was the wrong shot to play. I mean, that was the wrong way to play that shot. He's trying to force that cue ball to be heading all the way to the blue ball line. You can't really be doing that. You know, that black was always going to stay out if you play with shots like that. You needed to try and roll it into the pocket, not try and force its way off the jaws of the pocket there. And Zhao Xingtong is going to find himself going back to his seat. And let's have a look. I mean, it's a missable shot. Like, it was just about close enough to the black ball cushion for it to be a missable one. So that if you have a minor contact with the black ball cushion, and he probably will stay out, but that wasn't even the reason. The reason was he's actually managed to overcut that one and force it into the back end jaw rather than the front end of that right corner. So, and if you play with power, I mean, that's all the ingredients for a disaster that you can possibly imagine. And of course, Gary Wilson is going to be taking this chance away. He's had the break of 20 points in the first frame. Let's see what he's going to be able to achieve here. Straight away, he puts himself into a bit of a problematic position there. He tried to roll the red into the left middle, but now, I mean, I don't really understand what he was playing for, because if this blue was set up for the green pocket, then surely it's way too difficult for you to be taking on. And then if you try and play it into the right middle, then good luck explaining me how you're going to get on the next red. So he's trying to do that on the middle, and yeah, forces that cue ball nicely in between the yellow and brown. To be fair, he's played that shot pretty well. but still finds himself needing a rest shot. And this red is not quite as easy as it could have been had the cue ball been closer to it. So then, once again, trying to play for the blue. And you feel like, once again, the similar sort of situation, the one that Ronnie O'Sullivan had against John Murphy, he needs that black out of the pocket as soon as he possibly can. But also, he needs to try and achieve that outcome in the way that he's not going to be compromising himself too much on the position of the red he's going to be playing after the black itself. So just try and slow down the pace of the blue, and he seems to have been unhappy with something out there, and well, that was a bit of a weird shot that he's taken. He's basically taken a second to think about it, and the second that he got down to hit that shot, he's absolutely thrashed that one into the pocket. But whatever he's trying to do, it's not working out. I mean, he's trying to take a blunder. That was such a reckless shot there. As much as it was brilliant, I mean, that's the last thing that you want to be doing, down a second on a shot like that. And now it's going to be yellow for simply getting 2 points out of it. I can't really see the way that he's going to try and get himself lined up on the right-hand side of the table. So he's going to have to try and take it with a black now. Weird game so far from Wilson. And surely not the time to be doing that against the world champion. Let's see what he's going to be doing from the black. And not anything nice to himself. Gets himself lined up with another long shot. The previous one has cost him the frame and the break of 91 points for Zhao Xingtong in the first frame. He might actually be suggesting that he's trying to cut this one into the middle, but I feel like that's not really going to make his life easier. Is this red going to be in? He certainly will disappear into the pocket, but once again, just unable to find the cutting edge to make his life simple enough there, Wilson. Being very straight on the blue, and is he going to have a minor angle? That's all he's going to need to try and force that cue ball all the way onto the right side cushion, and he's managed to do that. So just about going to be close enough to this red, but still, the cue ball is also going to be quite close to the side cushion. Plays his shot really well once again out there, Wilson. As much as I say, apart from that red that is missing to the green pocket, he's been pretty good at trying to get himself out of trouble. The problem is, when he gets himself out of trouble, the next shot that he puts himself back into it again. So once again, I mean, he's had a straightforward black there that he's played, but straight after it, he's going to be lined up awkwardly on the red and just forcing himself to try and find himself another route there on the black. But once again, getting that cannon to be judged absolutely perfectly. Look at that. I mean, that was far from an ideal shot to be playing, but he's played that one absolutely brilliantly. And for this time around, it's going to be a lot more difficult for him to lose this frame than it will be to win it. So then, that's always going to be the danger with Gary Wilson and Zhao Xingtong, to be fair, because none of that would happen if Zhao doesn't miss the red that he has. And in the end, that was the reason why, sorry, the black that he's missed into the right corner. In the end, that was the reason why Gary Wilson finds himself stepping up to the table and scoring a break of 49 points and counting, having the referee to run for his life there to try and get the pink back on his spot. Great pace to the game, and great pace by Wilson as well. These are the frames that he must win to try and challenge Zhao Xingtong. And he's a bit of a different sort of a player, Wilson, in terms of the way that he plays the game from the stats sheet point of view. He does seem to come alive later on in the match, even better than he is at the start of it. But that's something that Zhao Xingtong has actually managed to improve on. And you know, you look at the majority of the matches that he plays, he doesn't really need to wait 2 or 3 frames for him to get underway. And then sometimes, even if it's going to be the first or the second frame, all he needs is one mistake from the opponent, and then he's going to be bringing up a century break to the board. For now, it's going to be the break of 63 points, which brings Gary Wilson clear, one snooker clear right now as it stands, of Zhao Xingtong here. So just trying to get this red along the side cushion as well. Probably unlikely to get the century break here as well, because of the last red being very much tucked into the right side cushion, but still a break of 69 points, still going to do him very, very nicely indeed. And trying to get that cue ball all the way lined up for this red. And he's going to bother about the rest, but he's very unlikely to get this one in. It's probably one of the most difficult shots for you to try and pop in snooker. But when there's not real pressure on you, and you don't risk anything of leaving out that red, sometimes you can play those shots like that brilliantly by Wilson. And now just trying to get the black into the pocket, transition all the way to the yellow, gets him into a break of 77 points. And apart from that red, there's nothing going to be in the way of Gary Wilson and making a century break here. And once again, exactly the way that the match of Shaun Murphy against Ronnie O'Sullivan started, the favourite, although it being a minor favourite in Ronnie O'Sullivan's case, makes a break of 90 plus points, and then the opponents of Shaun Murphy responded with a brilliant break of a century break in the second frame as well. It's not quite going to be as high scoring as 138, but it could still be very much a century break on the board there for Gary Wilson if he's able to produce a total clearance here and respond with great style out there with not even half an hour since the match has got underway, and we already know the winners of the first two frames. So then at least he's going to avoid the whitewash. You know, it looks like something that he would certainly take there at the start of the second frame, but now his focus is going to have to be on the quarterfinal spot there, and if he's going to keep playing like that, he's going to be a real powerhouse to try and stop that. Gary Wilson takes the second frame away with a century break on the board. It is now Gary Wilson 1, Zhao 1, and a break of 104 as the perfect response from Gary Wilson. Zhao, by the way, talk about a perfect response. He had a break of 70 points in the first frame. He's about to make a break of 80 plus in the second frame as well. So Marco Fu seems to find himself in the world of trouble. And Jaganda still trying to find his way against Hossein Wafai in the second frame. Zhao, meanwhile, managed to take the lead against Robbie Williams, so now leads by 1 frame to 0. And talk about the pairings. As I said, I mentioned Zhao or Marco Fu will play either Gary Wilson or Zhao. And then the winner of the Zhao and Robbie Williams match will play either Jaganda or Hossein Wafai. So could still be a lineup of Zhao against Zhao potentially. Could still be a lineup of Robbie Williams against Marco Fu there. Certainly something that you would not have expected to see in the as a potential semi-final lineup is what I'm saying. But Zhao seems to be up and running very, very nicely indeed, making a century break in the second frame as well. So seems to be doing all the scoring for himself there, with Marco Fu not being too much of a helping hand as it stands. There, of course, could all change very, very quickly, especially with the way that we've seen, you know, matches turned around from 2-0 down. Wu Yize against Karen Wilson, Hossein Wafai against Mark Williams, and a couple more matches that I wouldn't be able to remember on the spot as well. Now then, the referee has got the reds and the colours to be ready. Let's get the third frame underway. It will be the turn of Gary Wilson to try and do that. So let's see, he needs to try and build on that momentum that he had in the previous frame, but also he needs to try and force Zhao into making those errors. As much as doing that, he needs to try and build his own momentum there by setting up the long shot, taking it to the end, and then just, you know, you get the long shot in, you get yourself lined up for the colour. Depending on the position, you may have a really good chance of trying to replicate. And who's going to be taking that particular frame? Who's winning? Well, for now, no one is. And if you're talking about who's going to be the winner, then God knows. The good thing about this one is that you never quite know what's going to happen in the next couple of frames, because every single frame is a different lifetime. And it's just going to be, sometimes you can predict on who's going to win, but he always goes purely off form. Sometimes the class is going to be kicking into play as well. In the meantime, Zhao is about to get himself a decent opportunity to try and roll the red into the right corner. And look at that. I mean, this is exactly why momentum sometimes can mean absolutely nothing. I mean, he could not have played this shot any better. And if there was a textbook for and a dictionary word for a long shot, then Zhao got you the definition of that. Brilliantly taken. Just about as close to another red as he possibly could have been without touching it. The line was brilliant, and look at that pace. I mean, he's got the perfect shot selection of the yellow or green, and still pure control of that cue ball that he's going to get. And, well, just as I say, pure control of the cue ball. He could have not been lined up any worse than the next red, so from sublime to ridiculous there to an extent. And he's going to have a really difficult red now, all of a sudden, to try and play. And usually the players are going to be afraid of sort of getting the cue ball, not to run enough of a distance there. He's got it way over the mark there. And now, what's he going to be doing there? Is he going to be a shot into the yellow pocket? But surely he needs to try and take it into the middle. Whatever it is, he needs to get this one in. Otherwise, he'll be in trouble. And look at that. Once again, when you're in trouble and you're the world champion, you should have shots like that in your bag. And it's exactly what he's got there. Brilliant shot into the yellow pocket. That one was the more risky one because he always gets the cue ball right into the danger zone. And still, Zhao is desperate to try and get that cue ball running into the reds. You can see straight away he's quite frustrated with the way that he's getting this position to work for himself. You know, he's got the red lined up into the middle, which clearly would have been the backup option, but now it's going to be the only option that he's got available next to his name. And still, this red is not an easy one with how narrow the pocket is going to be for him, but also he doesn't have an awful lot of distance to try and aim for the black from this position either. So yeah, he misses that red, which, I mean, even the top players, sometimes when they force themselves to be trying to come up with those shots time and time again, eventually you won't be able to do it. Good thing about Wilson, though, is exactly what he had in the previous frame, and he managed to take it all the way before eventually making a century break and winning the frame all in all. Now then, the problem that Wilson has is that obviously Zhao was playing for the black, and for once he actually looks like he's been lined up pretty nicely on it. And the problem is, he's got a red lined up, but where are you going to find the next colour from? Because the straightforward shot of trying to roll for the black clearly doesn't work, either because of the angle that he's got available, or because of the black not being possible into the left corner. So what he's having a look at now is if pink is going to be available into the left corner, but even if that is the case, I would love to see how he's going to try and get that cue ball to be lined up past all of these reds. I mean, he's done it in the previous frame a couple of times. So he's just trying to bounce it away off the side cushion. So it's a decent shot that because of the usage of spin. And he manages to get himself lined up pretty nicely on the pink. So then, you know, Zhao could afford to be doing those sort of things in the previous frame. Missing the black like that. And right now he can't be doing that here. And the risk is certainly going to be high for him if he continues to do it like that for the remainder of the first mini session. Despite him winning the first frame, it wouldn't be the first time, but sometimes he can go on a bit of a bad roll and lose the 3 or even sometimes 4 frames on the bounce. Remember the famous match that he had against Zhao in the Home Nation series, where he managed to make a 1-4-6 with a break in the first round, in the first frame, and then he's lost out the match by 4 frames to 1. So then Wilson is just giving a little bit of time to the referee to try and respot the pink. The interesting thing for Wilson here is that position probably is going to be slightly easier than the one that he had in the second frame, but he needs one good shot into the bunch, and then he should be lined up with a very straightforward way of taking this frame away there. But I'm really surprised that he's trying to play for the black right now. I mean, he's got it, but it just makes you wonder why he hasn't played for the black on the previous time when he had to try and force that cue ball off the right side cushion and be lined up for the pink instead. But of course it's going to be a bonus for Wilson that he's got the black available. He's about to make it available into both of those pockets and to get a red on the left hand side of it away from it so that the black can go into the right part of the table instead. And the cue ball is going to have loads more freedom, especially on the left side of the table. So then he's just looking around to see which of those 2 reds he should be taking right now. It's clearly going to have something to do with, you know, trying to take 16 points with still regaining perfect control of the position and maybe trying to achieve even more than that because he's got the slightest of angles. Probably not going to be enough there, but he is looking to try and play the shot with loads of power. And look at that. He's played that one really well. He always knew that he was going to have a red by the right corner available to his name, and now he's about to get himself a lead of 15 points there with so many reds that he's managed to spread out away from each other previously. Now this is going to get him a great opportunity to try and take this one away from Zhao. and find himself in the lead of this match for the first time. And the 2-1 lead in the first to 5 match, especially with the way that he's potentially going to achieve it, is going to be a very impressive thing indeed. But Zhao Xington needs to be making sure he focuses on himself first of all, because he could have easily won 3 of those frames, and it's probably bound to be ending up on just 1 of those frames to be won after the first 3 encounters are going to finish. But for now, talking about Gary Wilson, he manages to control the play of the cue ball really well, trying to play it away from the black ball cushion, getting himself lined up on a short selection of either one into the right middle or the right corner to be played, and with loads of batsmen trying to use the cue ball as the bouncing trampoline of the left side cushion as well. As I say, it's a really good choice for you to be having there, because you can try and travel all the way to the blue if you want to be taking that shot into the middle. What Wilson decided to do instead is just try and hold the cue ball for the black, and his pot success has been really good when it comes to shots like that. The only problem for him so far has probably been trying to get into those chances and get those ones started at the early point of the frame. Now then, he's about to take that red into the right middle, which would have been available to him on the previous couple of occasions anyway. But the thing that he's having a look at right now is that he's got a cluster of 4 reds, which is going to be quite difficult for him to try and make his way through, because of, sort of a couple of those reds to be in the way of each other with all the corner angles. You don't really want to be taking shots like that into the middle. He's going to need them, but he's not going to need anything sort of ridiculous out of them. It'll probably be just all about 1 more red that he needs. He's got 1 more of those very much next to the yellow spot. And I tell you what, he's got 39 points of an advantage. So if he takes 2 more reds with his blue, and then he's going to have 21 points more, that leaves him with 60 points exactly. So, I mean, potentially, as I say, take 2 reds with a black, get yourself lined up on that plant, and, whatever happens, he should be lined up perfectly well for this frame to end in your favour. Wilson clearly has something else in his mind, so he is going to be going for this plant, which, I mean, it depends how much of a distance there is in between those 2 reds, but if there is any, you feel like you should not really be taking a shot like that. But clearly was very comfortable that for Wilson, because of him making that decision and also taking the red right into the heart of the pocket at the same time. So just try and roll the pink into the right middle at the same time right here. And let's see if he's managed to take that pink spot with the cue ball. He's now got a 51 points of a gap. So once again, apart from those sort of 24 points scored by Zhao Xington, he's going to get himself lined up with sort of 200 points without a significant answer that from Zhao Xington. It could still be another century break that he takes as well. Still going for a potential 1-2-7 out there. So just looking to try and get this red to drop into the right corner. Trying to play for the black. The only delay was the referee trying to respot the pink. Zhao will lose too many mistakes. We'll see. I mean, it's not like Wilson has been perfect. That's why he's lost the first frame. And whatever Zhao Xington does, he needs to be making sure he tries to improve on his game first and foremost. And then the rest should come with that. For now, it's 59 points of the advantage for Gary Wilson. And it just needs this red to disappear into the right corner, which it will. So then, the break of 69 points and counting to add to the points tally of 104 that he scored in the previous frame. Zhao needs to focus. All times he's complacent and overconfident. I feel like he's not really happy with the way that he plays the game for now. He's been a couple of times where you've seen the body language suggesting that, he's not happy with something of his game, but also you've seen that maybe he's not going to be getting the most out of the tip that he's got. Whatever it was, it certainly allowed him to have a break of 91 points. And I feel like a little bit of patience is something that he needs to try and improve his game on. And Gary Wilson was trying to get 1 more red to be in the open play. In the end, that's not going to work out. And he's just going to try and fluke one into either one of the pockets. That's not going to be the case. And in the end, a break of 84 points is going to be more than enough to keep Zhao Xington in his seat. And it's now going to be time for Gary Wilson to try and talk about it. He now puts himself into a healthy lead of 2 frames to 1, winning 2 frames on the bounce, scoring more than 200 points in 2 of those frames, and not leaving anything away for Zhao Xington. In terms of an opportunity, by the way, Hossein Vafai managed to level the score sheet against Jaganda. At the same time, Chao Nu is about to take another frame away from Marco Fu and make it another break of 50 plus. He's currently on 49. So it looks like we are going to know who's going to be the player to face, either Gary Wilson or Zhao Xington, but who's actually going to be on the top side of the draw in terms of the seeded players. Watchalong, by the way, is still looking to try and find the second frame win, as he's now currently on the break of 34 points against Robbie Williams, and still didn't have a break of 50 plus in either one of those two frames. His previous high in the first frame was 42 points that he scored, but that was always going to be the case. If you've seen the match of Robbie Williams against Daniel Wells, good luck to you, and for me, get a life, because that one was, what is it, more than 5 hours, 5.5 hours, something like that. I mean, honestly, if there was a person on earth that watched it from the start to finish, then fair play, but I don't know how can you manage that. So Robbie was always going to be trying to and slow the game down, and that was probably going to be the only way that he was going to try and stop that machine of Watchalong from winning this match pretty comfortably. In the end, whatever he's trying to do, certainly it doesn't seem to be working out. And in the meantime, you know, some of those matches haven't even finished the second frame. We're about to start the fourth one, as Trump is still going to extend his advantage even further. And Hossein Vafai is currently going to be finding himself on the break against Jaganda. Chao Nu, by the way, has won the third frame with another break of 60 plus at his name. So then, just looking to try and see on who's actually going to be the winner of the fourth frame before we eventually see all the players to go for the intermission. So then what's it going to be? Is it going to be Zhao Xington to try and take it back to being all square? Or is it going to be Gary Wilson to try and extend his advantage to 3 frames to 1? By the way, talk about the head-to-head, something that I have seen before this match. It's not something that you should be taking massive notice of, because some of those matches go all the way to 2017, which would have seen a 20-year-old Zhao Xington, 19-year-old I should say. And interesting thing about it is that they've played 8 matches. First 4 have been won by Gary Wilson, all of them. And then the last 4 have all been won by Zhao Xington as well. So he currently has got 4 on the bounce that he's won against Wilson. But he also has got a very even of a head-to-head to be played next to his name. And once again, I mean, it's a bad shot that he's played off a break-off. And that's exactly the opposite of what he needed to achieve. This is going to be a bit of a problem now. Wilson will have a chance to try and take this red into the middle. Is he going to be able to get it? No, he won't. Whatever he was complaining about, there wasn't an element of fate to that, surely. So, yeah, he seems to have been unhappy with something, but whatever it was a really good chance that he wasn't able to take. But Zhao Xington, I mean, he needs to get his game together. Otherwise, he's seriously going to be under threat of being 3-1 down there. And what I meant is not really taking a double, but that seems to be something that he's trying to do. Close. Probably too close in the end. And is he going to be too close? Has he managed to get the cover from the blue? You feel like he has, but I'm not sure about it. It was quite close there, but he still caught. He was always going to be heading towards the front jaw of the pocket. And doubles like that, you need to be absolutely perfect with your position. So then, the fact that Wilson still hasn't gone for this raid, to me, is going to be a suggestion that he can't see it at all. So once again, I mean, Zhao Xington got away with the first chance that he's taken like that. And, I mean, Wilson responding with a double of his own. So that's always going to be the way for this match to be played. But same outcome, front jaw. I feel like he's caught even more of that than, yeah, he hasn't even caught the front jaw. He just got the cushion next to the front jaw off the right middle this time. So you feel like Zhao Xington needs to try and play one good shot, and that was the intention. That was exactly what I was talking about. Try and separate those reds away from each other. I thought the effect was going to be a bit more of that, to be fair. But ultimately, its main focus always had to be trying to bring the cue ball as close to the black ball cushion as is humanly possible. And he seems to have done a decent job at that, because Wilson doesn't seem to have a clear vision of the next shot for him to play. You know, he can't see too many of those reds on the left-hand side. I mean, he's actually looking at the plant into the left middle, but surely he can't hammer his way through, because that's not how this angle is going to work for him. And it's also, that's not how the jaws of the pocket of the middle work like that either. And yeah, that's, as much as it is tempting, especially if they're looking straight into the heart of the pocket, you can't be taking a shot like that because the cue ball is going to be going nowhere. And you are just gambling with losing a frame or potentially getting yourself a chance, which may still not come. But I mean, he's looking at it for way too long, so I would expect him to take it. But as I say, I feel like he's going to lose his frame if he doesn't take it well, and he's lost it. I mean, he's missed it, I should say. He hasn't lost the frame just yet, but he may as well have. I mean, I've got absolutely no idea what was going through his head. I literally said it, he would not have been lined up nicely on the colour anyway. He would have had to take a pink into the yellow pocket, and now he's left an absolute sitter of a chance for Zhao, which, once again, the world champion nearly messes up the first shot that he's played. I mean, what on earth is happening with him ever since the first frame? He's fortunate to still just about be lined up on the yellow, but this one is not an easy one. And especially if he plays that with power, I mean, it takes some nerve to be doing that. So manages to play that one well enough, but he's clearly unhappy with his tip or some part of his cue there. And by the way, shout out to him for playing that and actually making that yellow because of how much there was for it to travel. Yeah, I mean, if he's going to be having issues with the equipment, then I wouldn't say it's going to be a 90% of a chance, but prior to that, I certainly would say it because he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 reds available to him, and that's only the ones that I can spot, and these are going to be the reds that are going to be in the 90% of the zone to be potted. And yeah, I mean, whatever you do as Gary Wilson, he clearly misread the room there. He didn't really need to try and go for something as risky as that. All he had to do was to bide a little bit of time and wait for a potential better opportunity or a chance to be given away by Zhao. I mean, for anyone that tells me that there wasn't a better opportunity for him to play, there always was. Like, he was never making that red in. He was never going to make the position on the collar. And now he's left a potential chance, which normally, without any struggles for Zhao, I would say that 19 times out of 20 that he would take it, something like that. Because there's nothing for him that's going to be challenging. You know, he doesn't have the risk of trying to send the cue ball into the bunch. So the only way that he's going to mess this one up is going to be a really slim chance of a pot success problem, especially if he's going to have a problem with the equipment or a potential misjudgment on the positional play, which usually is not really the sentence that you use to describe Zhao game. For now, he's managed to take all the easy reds on the lower end of the table. He's about to move up to the bulk area here. So having to look towards those reds at the top end of the table, trying to play that cue ball through the blue and getting the cue ball to go all the way and lined up for these reds to be taken into the right middle. So just trying to go for the backspin shot here. I feel like taking the yellow here will be the best possible chance. I mean, he's tried to play for the brown, which the angle certainly not going to tell you the full story, but he's actually managed to play the shot pretty well. And with how close the brown is going to be to one of the two of those reds, it's going to give him a nice opportunity to try and stay in the position here and in prime charge of it. Wilson is going to have the front row tickets to be seeing how Zhao is moving through the gears and trying to clear up the table from here. As I say, we've seen the breaks of 91, 104 and 83 as well. We could still see another addition to that club of 80 plus break to come in every single one of those frames. Zhao is about to be halfway there with him just trying to make a decision whether to go for the yellow or green. He seems to settle for yellow in the end. So using the entire width of the pocket, clearly playing for the red into the middle. And still, it stopped sort of worrying too much about his tip there. So I don't know whether the problem can fix itself, or whether it was just him not being comfortable with it, but whatever it is, I just hope that he's going to be able to sort that issue out at the intermission, because it seems like he's playing with one hand tied behind his back there. And that's certainly not going to be very helpful for him, especially trying to get to the quarterfinal of the World Open here in China. So then once again, he's going to be forced to play the yellow here. And another red that is going to be available to him to be taken into their green pocket right now. So we're just trying to stun that cue ball off the yellow, put a little bit of distance in between the white and the red. Get himself a 40 points of an advantage with how many points he's already lost in terms of playing the cheap colours. That's going to get the points available at the table down to just 75 there. And once again, he seems to be pretty unhappy with the way he's played this shot. And yeah, he seems to have caught himself in two minds there. He's not perfectly lined up on either green or blue there, with those two being his best possible chances of trying to continue the break. So he's going to try and take the green. See where he's going to try and bring the cue ball up towards. So he's clearly played for a very tight of a margin and a channel. Seems like he's played this one pretty well though, and allowing the cue ball to be seeing enough of the red to try and take it into the right corner. That eventually will free up another red for him to be taking. And yeah, if he takes those two reds with high value colours, he's going to be getting the value of points remaining down to 59 points, and his gap should be 60 points by the time that he gets this red and the black to disappear into the right and the left corner of the table. Of course, ideally, he wants to try and make a really good break out of it, keep Wilson in his chair, and also just make sure there's not going to be any threat of Wilson trying to come back and find a couple of snookers there. So as you can see, ahead by 53 points, points left at the table, 59 as it stands. So not ideally lined up on the black. He's probably on the wrong side of it now as it stands. So he needs to be adding topspin, which doesn't really work like that, because if you add topspin here without side spin, it's not really going to do a lot of damage to yourself. So what's he going to be then? Is he going to try and put the black safe? Because he's taking a rest shot all of a sudden. So now he's just going to be taking the black into the corner pocket and clearly trying to get himself lined up just about as close to those reds without actually the ability to be seeing enough of them to be taking into the left corner. And has he played the shot well enough, or was there actually room for him to be playing shot in that manner? Anyway, it's going to be a break of 60 points there, which is going to end here for Zhao. So not quite a break of 80 plus points, but still, that's certainly going to do the job for now, it would seem. Especially with a couple of those reds to be quite far away from the side cushions. And yeah, Zhao is going to have a couple of those reds to be available, but well, I mean, it's a calamity shot there from Gary Wilson. And let's see if he's actually going to be able to get away with this one. And it seems like he has to an extent. I mean, the only thing that I can actually see Zhao to be potting here is going to be the red next to the left corner. But this one is not an easy one. And he plays it super well though, so that's going to limit all the pursuit of those snookers to an absolute minimum, because it leaves Wilson to be needing 3 snookers as it stands. Probably still worth fighting for, as for the time being, I mean. And Zhao just thinking about, he can't try and take the black into the right corner, so it's going to be down to either taking the pink or trying to put one of those colours safe and towards the side cushion. And Wilson will be coming back to the table here, just at least for a couple of more of those shots. As now Zhao gets himself another point on the board there. So then it is going to be an attempt of a long shot there from Gary Wilson. Let's see where the red is going to finish. And yeah, the cue ball is certainly going to finish way too close to those reds for safety of Wilson. So once again, it's going to be another good chance for Zhao to try and get a couple of those points on the board. Make sure that Wilson is not going to be coming back to the table before the end of the intermission. And he played that shot with all the power in the world that he had, and still manages to be lined up perfectly on the pink after a bit of a fortunate cannon from the penultimate one of those reds. So then just get the more points on the board there scored. So incredibly, a very rare occasion, despite being level in terms of frames won, Zhao finds himself behind by a single point there in terms of total points scored in the previous 3.5 frames. But now that's no longer going to be the case. And he's still going to have the last laugh of the first mini session. Gets himself a win to 0 here, which is still going to be very important, trying to keep Gary Wilson not very busy, sat in his chair. And now still very much looking for a break of 35 points or so, as he's looking to try and get the green and make it possible for a 6 colour clearance in the end. Now then a break of 19 points here, so still looking on for a potential 46 points of a break if he's going to be able to make the total clearance, and that includes trying to pot the blue, which he was actually the player that put safe because he didn't need it. Clearly the right decision at that time, but now for purely the total clearance point of view, of course he would like to try and bring the blue into the open play. Manages to do that, compromises himself slightly on the exit for the brown though. Should still be able to try and take it into the yellow pocket. Plays that with great conviction and power, and look at that for a positional play, brilliantly lined up on the blue into the middle pocket. So the total clearance is still going to be on there before he misses that blue, so it is going to be in the end just a break of 28 points there. And Zhao manages to do a little bit of a damage limitation right to the death there to make sure it is going to be Gary Wilson 2, Zhao 2. But as far as I'm aware, the last match that they've played in between the two of them at the Masters was going the similar route before Zhao eventually stepped up massively and managed to win a couple of those frames of the bounce. For now, it's going to be the intermission for the two players to see which one of them will be facing either Zhao that seems to go on an absolute roll there against Marco Fu, about to make it a 4-0 of a lead, or is it going to be Gary Wilson there to try and get himself into another semi-final appearance in China. 15 minutes intermission. Speak to you soon. Stay tuned in. The best of action is yet to come.
Above the sky, we are heroes tonight. Yeah, we are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
Roaring in the morning sun, searching for a longer day. People feeling like the light has just come. We must never stop the way, yeah. Birds jumping and I hear my name, grasping into a life. Life is happy but it's so insane. We must merely make a start. Savannah, Savannah. We'll never be alone, Savannah. The beauty of the world, Savannah. Let's all take a road, Savannah. Light is gonna come. The birds have just begun. We will always take a stand for the people, for the land. Let's go back to when we were young. For the animals we stand. Let's go back to when trees were swung. Kids across the land. Savannah, I'm coming home, Savannah. We'll never be alone, Savannah. The beauty of the world, Savannah. Let's all take a road, Savannah. I'm coming home, Savannah. We'll never be alone, Savannah. The beauty of the world, Savannah. Let's all take a road. Savannah, I'm coming home, Savannah. We'll never be alone, Savannah. inside you. And the blackened eyes make my way into your mind, just to know what you knew. Restless every time we start locking eyes. Lost control. Oh, it's paradise with honesty, but I'm in the dead of the night. Let the darkness take control. Let the darkness take control. Darkness take control. May the darkness take control. Take me in the smoke, breathe me in and let me go. Sink to your heart to find you. Open up your eyes till you're blinded by the lies, so you can see what you do. Restless every time we start locking eyes. Lost control. Oh, it's paradise with honesty, but I'm in the dead of the night. Teardrops on the floor. The pain is over. Feel the darkness take control. Darkness take control. Open eye, feel the waves cut through me. Hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you can make me move.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the match between Zhao and Gary Wilson for a place into the quarterfinal. Their players are now back from the intermission, which it is over, and Gary Wilson is about to take the break-off shot. By the way, a couple of seconds ago, Robbie Williams has taken a frame away from Watchalong, so he now trails by 2 frames to 1. That was the scoreline for Zhao to try and find himself from behind. He was able to do so in the previous frame, and now he's going to try and do a little bit of work of his own to try and run away with it. He's managed to do that in a couple of previous frames. Let's see if this one is going to be the same. Once again, beautifully taken over red into the right corner after the break-off shot by Wilson. Wasn't quite as clinical as it could have been. But unlike into the third frame, now Zhao clearly is going to be coming up with a little bit of form here, a little bit of momentum. And he's going to try and make it, finally, for the first time in this match, a single visit to the table and turn it into a frame win. For now, he's got a couple of reds to try and choose from. Once again, I mean, one thing that you absolutely know about this match is that there's not going to be loads of safety shots in either one of those frames. There was a period to end the fourth frame, but that was because, you know, Wilson needed one of those snookers to try and come back from being sort of 60 points down whilst only having 59 at the table. But when it comes to the beginning of the frames, there always seems to be a chance presented to one of the players, and even when there isn't, they seem to try and find it where it doesn't exist there. Especially that applies to Zhao that finds himself 12 points clear and still having at least 3 more reds to be taken with a black, which will get him nicely lined up for a 36 points of a lead. And yeah, you can always try and take a couple more of those reds into the middle. That'll free up 1 more red to be taken into the left corner. From that point onwards, you should get yourself lined up nicely for a couple more of those points to be scored. But in the meantime, once again, I thought he was going to be able to sort out this issue, but still, it seems like he's not happy with the tip of his cue there. And yeah, it's not something that will be looking for excuses. It's the first time ever I've seen him to be looking for his tip with so many times there, especially. And yeah, he seems to have run himself out of position there, but every single time you feel like Zhao runs himself out of position, he always seems to have a backup option like that. Brilliantly taken, planted in the middle. Wilson will have flashbacks of frame number 2 there, but this time around, the red is going to be made, and look at that for a split of the pack as well. As long as he's got something to play here, to be fair, because as much as he was a brilliant split of the pack, it seems to be quite low on options. And I'm not talking about the tyres, but yeah, he's going to try and roll this red into the right corner. He needs to have the position on the colour as well. And in the meantime, it is going to be Gary Wilson storming back to the table because that red was missed. So after all of that, it looked like Zhao is going to finally see himself ahead in this frame, ahead in this match really, for the first time since the opening frame. But in no time at all, the favourite for this frame has changed here dramatically, and he's now going to be very much Gary Wilson's frame to lose. He's got all the tools that he needs. He's got the cue, he's got the chalk, he's got the tip, he's got all the remaining reds very much in an ideal position there. The only thing that's missing is going to be pink on this spot, but for the only reason of the reds flooding all over the table, and including the pink spot itself. Yeah, the only chance for Zhao to come back to the table has to be a horrible mistake now, because I really don't understand how you're going to be able to mess up the positional play here. So he needs to come to a pot success thing. But once again, he's got the perfect location of all the colours. The reds are going to be located even better for him. So it's now going to be just trying to hope there that the chance is going to come back to him, but probably not going to be for this frame. And once again, Wilson is going to be a real threat for a 3-2 of a lead. And meanwhile, Zhao, the player that does look like he's going to be playing up against either Gary Wilson or Zhao into the quarterfinal. He's only 1 frame away from making it a whitewash against Marco Fu. For now, the scoreline is going to be 4 frames to 0 in favour of the player from Thailand. Now finds himself 12 points behind there, Wilson, and still not going to be short in reds very much until the end of this frame. It could still be a great chance for a century break as well, if he manages to just keep himself together. Make sure he's not going to get complacent too early here. And if he wants to try and stay focused, he can try and get himself a little bit of a task. make sure that he doesn't take this position for granted still. And as much as there are going to be so many of those easy raids, just try and locate those little groups there, which are going to have raids to be in the way of each other, and try and take them out one by one, so that you're never going to get in a situation basically where you've used all the opened up raids, and the rest of those raids, even though they're opened up, they only can be potted into a specific pocket or something like that, because that will require you a lot of precision in the remaining shots with the positional play. So for now, he does exactly that, and let's see where the pink is going to go, because he clearly was trying to hold back from potting the pink previously. So whether he's going to go underneath the reds, that's going to be the case, which is not really going to matter, to be fair, because you'll have enough of a space for the red to be potted into the left corner, but also he doesn't even need the last red to be taken. He's got 6 more of those very much available to him, and then the 7th one can wait that little bit longer. Now he plays another red to be taken into the middle, slightly too narrow there in terms of the angle on the black, but he should be able to recover from this, and he certainly does. Rolls that black nicely into the left part of the table, has got a couple of those reds once again forming a little plant into the left middle. He's going to have to wait for another occasion to try and pot either one of those two. For now, taking a red into the left corner, playing for the shot at the blue into the right middle at the same time. And this is where, all the easy work is about to start. Just the little combination of 2 of those reds to be right next to each other, but he's probably about to take the first one of the 2. He's thinking about taking a shot into the middle, but surely you just want to eliminate the risk of having those 2 reds next to each other. Though he's thinking about all the 3 options that he has, with 4 reds in open play, and 3 of them can be potted right now here. It just tells you everything you need to know about how good of a split that was from Zhao in a previous shot from the colour, but of course it was the penultimate shot that he had in that break after missing out on the red which followed the shot of the colour. Now then, Wilson is just trying to get the pink once again to be respotted nervously by the referee. Probably the longest part of this break there. He's just trying to squeeze that pink next to the red without, of course, leaving it to be touching. 24 points of the advantage that for Wilson, with a break of 52 points. Once again, keeps that brilliant sequence of us having a break of 50 plus points in every single one of those frames so far. And as I said right at the start of it, it could still be a fantastic opportunity for a second century in the match, and for both of them to come from Gary Wilson's camp. It does seem like Zhao is struggling to find the free-flowing style of his game. He's had some good frame wins. The one that he had a break of 60 points, got him over the line at that point with all the cheap colours that he was using, and the break of 91 points to start the match off as well. It looked like he was going to be getting better and better as the match progresses, but hasn't been the case so far, with those odd mistakes still coming here and there every single now and then. So then, once again, getting himself within 1 shot away there of a frame ball. He's got a 33 points of advantage, so the black is going to get him 40 points clear with 43 at the table, and then the red is going to get him over the line and see Zhao to be needing snookers. That was always going to be the case as soon as that red stayed over the pocket there into the right corner, and we are approaching the stage of the match where you probably can't afford to be doing those, making those mistakes any longer. But certainly doesn't seem to be on the mind of Zhao just yet. He's going to find himself 3-2 down. It's not quite as bad. It's 4-3 down, which only leaves Wilson to be needing 1 more frame win. But still, that's going to be certainly alarming for him to see himself on the losing end of things ever since that first frame. And now Wilson, he's going to be looking for that century break to be his for the taking here. About to take the green into its own pocket, position itself nicely for the yellow, and now it's a break of 80 points, so could still be the highest break of the match here. The previous one was 104 points. It's not going to be able, it's either going to be a century break or of a higher value or no century at all. If he's now taken the yellow into its own pocket, about to follow up with the green as well, and then 6 color clearance, we'll see Gary Wilson very much over the line in this particular frame. So once again, no time since the frame has started, and we are ready for it to be finished here. So just positioned nicely for the blue to be taken here into the right middle as well. That'll get himself set up for the pink here. So 94 points, which already is going to be the higher than anything that we've seen from Zhao so far. And the second century break in this match of it being 100 points exactly. Let's see if it is going to be a break of 107 points to finish it off in style. And it is going to be a 3-2 of a lead, very much in style that from Gary Wilson, that has had the breaks of 83, 104 and 107 now to add to the tally as well. And when he wins, you better make sure he does it in style there. Zhao finds himself on the back foot for one more time, and he needs to be careful of that. You know, he finds himself in a bit of a situation where you're going to be under threat of inevitably every single opportunity that you give away could turn into a massive problem for yourself. It's now going to be very much level in terms of the odds for the match winner. 190 for Zhao, 190 for Gary Wilson. And meanwhile, Robbie Williams is about to win the 4 frame against Trump to make it back to square one of 2 frames each. And Trump looked like he was going to be just 2 shots away from making it a 3-0 lead. He's probably about to turn this one into a 2-all draw there. Marco Fu, meanwhile, has scored his highest break of the match of 12 points out there in the 5th frame. Zhao will not make it to the quarterfinals. We'll have to wait and see. You know, he's still very much capable of doing that. All he needs to do is to win 3 in the remaining 4 frames, and he's done that time and time again. The last thing that you want to be doing is write him off there, because he'll come back and you'll be able to win that match in no time at all. Hossein Vafai, by the way, finds himself in a spot of bother. Jaganda has got 40 points of a lead with only 35 points at the table. So he's looking nicely lined up for a 3-1 of a lead. Marco Fu, meanwhile, as I mentioned, is on a break of 13 points. A luxury that he only had once in the second frame there. My pick for title, Trump, Rocket and But that's boring now. I mean, come on, you have to give me better than that. I mean, Trump, Weezer and Rock. I mean, like, yeah, you literally picked out the 3 favourites for the odds and based on form and for who's going to be higher up the rankings, because Ronnie should be making it to the semi-final. I mean, with all the respect to Ryan Day, but it was really all about if he's going to be able to defeat Murphy, and then whether Higgins was going to make it all the way to the quarterfinal stage. So Ronnie should be in the semi-final. Weezer is going to be up against Mark Cullen, which, you know, it's going to be difficult, but he should be able to take it. And just for that thing, I am going to say right now, my pick for the title, Zhao Xington. He's 3-2 down. I still expect him to win this one and come back all the way, as he's now taking a break-off shot. I do hope that, you know, he's not going to lose 2 frames at the bounce, because that's going to be probably one of the worst predictions ever if he used to lose this match 5-2. But yeah, you can't have a 3 people pick for the tournament. You have to choose either one of them, because it's a guarantee that either Weezer or Ronnie O'Sullivan will make it into the final. I mean, whatever you say, if that's not going to be the case, then something must have gone wrong with both of them, really, because if Zhao Xington or Trump don't make it into the final, then you're not going to have Ronnie O'Sullivan and Weezer on the other side of it. That's what makes this tournament such a brilliant setup, because right now, if I was to take an absolute sort of, you know, wild guess, and it's not going to be wild, but what I'm saying is, you'll be absolutely weird for me if we're not going to see either Zhao Xington and Trump on the lower side of the draw, and Weezer and Ronnie O'Sullivan on the top end of the draw. We're not going to see Zhao Xington, though, if we're going to play shots like that. A bit reckless once again, trying to go for the red into the middle. In the end, didn't get that cue ball too close to the side cushion, and that's going to give a chance away for Gary Wilson, which is not going to be taken. Now let's see where that red is going to finish. Is it going to finish through a gap of the brown and yellow? That seems to be the case. And there was no hand of apology there from Zhao Xington, so let's have a look. Nope. I'm a bit surprised there that Wilson hasn't apologised for it, because he got massively lucky there. The fact that Zhao Xington can't see this red. He's going to have to go for a long shot attempt into the right corner. Something that he's had decent luck of in the previous couple of frames, but still something that he needs to improve on. He's been able to score some good points out of those chances, and yeah, he's tried to take that one all the way. Nearly fluked the red into the left middle. But I tell you what, he could not have caused any more chaos on the table. But sometimes it can be controlled chaos. It is going to be anything but that from Zhao. And yeah, he's going to be really lucky if he returns to the table. Let me put it like that in this frame. So, yeah, once again, the brilliant prediction that I had of Zhao winning the title may not even come back to be winning this match here, because he's going to be a huge underdog to be winning this frame here. And when you're going to be 4-2 down, even if you are going to be the world champion that hasn't been playing well at all today, you are going to be under real pressure of not making it all the way. So then let's see what's it going to be here then. Is it going to be Gary Wilson to try and take the black all the way to the right corner? Certainly tried to do that, and he's going to try and stay on the black here for as long as he possibly can, simply because of the pink and the blue to be in the way of each other, and also all of those reds pretty much to be lined up right next to the black, and that's going to give him the best possible chance of trying to make it very much a frame win with a single opportunity that he's got to his name. And that was always going to be the risk. You probably wouldn't see that from Aaron Hill, but this is the reason why he was in the top 16 before there. When he's playing well and he's there, he can beat anyone, unpredictable player. Yeah, I'll have to make a decision, because I was always going to be making a stream worth of Zhao and Zhao, but if it's going to be Gary Wilson, it's going to be a quick one, to be fair. So unless Marco Fu decides to try and turn up with 5 frames on the bounce, then we'll have to wait and see on how that one's going to go. Zhao tonight, not good feel. Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's happy with the equipment. He doesn't seem like he's happy with himself. And all those things are just adding up to each other. And Gary Wilson, of course, is not going to be bothered about it. Could have easily been 2-0 down. And now finds himself 3-2 up with a great chance to try and close off the 6th frame as well. And take it all the way. So it'll be having a 4-2 of a lead. And yeah, what's he going to be then? He's got so many reds to try and choose from. He's got the one closer to the green pocket to try and go for right now. So just tries to use the side cushion to bring the cube up closer to the blue here. Let's see if he got enough of the backspin there on the cue ball. It seems to have slowed down a bit too soon there for him. And if he's going to be taking the blue here into the right middle, so he's saying the blue there just to make sure that the referee is going to, you know, realize that and not call a foul for it. So just carefully trying to nurse the blue into the middle, and at the same time manages to bring the pink just about as close as it possibly can be towards its own spot there. So now it is going to be more than a 100-point score there for Gary Wilson in total in the match, in comparison to Zhao, as Marco Fu is about to take at least one of those frames away from Zhao. Same for Faye, incredibly managed to come back and make it a 2-all draw against Zhang Anda. And Robbie Williams has done the same thing against Joe Trump on table number 2 as well. In the meantime, it's going to be Wilson to try and get the black to disappear into the left part of the table using another red as a handbrake for the cue ball. Zhao's attempt at the red was a disaster, completely open table now. Easy pickings for Wilson. That is true. Not going to say anything about it. You know, he was quite fortunate, Wilson, not to be giving a chance away, but the way and the power that he's played that shot with was a bit reckless. And, you know, there is going to be a point in snooker where you have to realise sometimes when you play the shot perfectly well and you take a line of that pink or red or whatever it was, and you just decide to add it with 100 power, so maximum power attempts, you're reducing your chances probably in half there, really. And that is something that the world champion of Zhao should have known at that time. And he also should have realised that something like that could result in all the reds to be split away from each other. And all the reds to be split away from each other could also mean that Gary Wilson is going to find himself with a lead of 43 points and counting. And so many of those frames in this match really have been won with a single opportunity there, whether it was Zhao or Gary Wilson there. Has he managed to mess this position up though? He seems to be close to it, and if he's going to have the black to be in the way, he's going to be in a bit of trouble, but he doesn't seem like he's going to be worried about it at all. So he clearly can just about nudge the red towards the right corner and still stay on the black nicely. Hope Zhao will come back down to Gary 2-3. Well, it's not going to happen now, so he's going to have to try and win 3 frames of the bounce there. He's now going to have a 58 points of advantage, but you need to see the position for you to realise how hopeless it is going to be, for you to be hoping that Zhao will come back to the table. He won't, unless there's going to be a blunder for the ages there for Wilson. And even if he does, to be fair, because of, inevitably Wilson trying to make his way through all the easy reds, he's now going to leave Zhao with potentially 2 of those reds at least to be perfectly on the side cushions, but it's never going to happen. And he's now got himself into a lead of 66 points. And 67 remaining. So the paint now for Zhao to be needing 2 snookers, and the world champion is going to be on the blink of elimination there. Can Zhao come back? He always can, but he's going to need to win 3 frames of the bounce, which is something that he's done. Sometimes he's able to step up his game to the needed level. The problem is, it doesn't happen all the time, and he's only lost 1 of his last sort of 15 or 17 matches. I can't quite remember the exact stat, but he's probably about to make a double in the same time. As Wilson gets himself a break of 80 points there. Didn't see this coming from Wilson. Unfortunately, I could. And there was a bit of a feeling inside of me where he beat Aaron Hill, and I was like, this is going to make the match a lot more interesting. But at the same time, I know for a fact that Wilson can actually beat Zhao because of their styles being similar. And it's always going to come down to, if one player is playing well and the other one isn't, it's always going to be a fine margin of you just taking off and, playing really good style of snooker, which is exactly what Wilson's done. I mean, whatever you say about all those chances given away by Zhao, that's nothing that Wilson can do about it. He's not just going to say, you're too kind to me, take one back. He's not going to do that in the professional sport. And you look about it, and what do you see? A break of 83 points, the break of 92 points and counting, the break of 104 and 107. He's on the verge of making 3 centuries in 6 frames that he's played, and he's managed to win 4 of them. And every single frame that he's won, he had a break of 80 plus points. I mean, you can't... If Zhao was playing well, that would have been a close match. But because he's playing awfully, to be fair, then he's always going to be Gary Wilson's match to lose there. And it's another century break. So made that 3 out of 4 frames that he's won. He's made a century break in every single one of them. Gary playing so well today. Yes, absolutely. And the thing about Zhao is, he's not going to bother about the red, because the red is going to stay out. So it's going to be 100 points exactly. But it's still going to be a century break, which counts. And ultimately, he leaves Gary Wilson only needing to find 1 more frame win. No mistake about it. To me, before the 7 frame starts, it is going to be the most difficult of all of them to find. But he's still got a really good chance to try and get himself over the line. As I just felt Zhao was flying at the moment. Well, he was, but another thing you need to realise about Zhao, when was he flying? He wasn't flying in the Welsh Open, and that was 2 weeks ago, but he wasn't flying in there. He was playing quite bad snooker, and he lost to Bingham completely deservedly. And Bingham lost the next round match to wherever it was, I can't remember. So Zhao, the timeline of Zhao flying must be around 4 weeks now. And 4 weeks in snooker is an absolutely massive thing to your form. There was a break of 2 weeks in between the Welsh Open and the World Open. That's 2 weeks of snooker that he hasn't played professionally. Then he had a Welsh Open week, which didn't really look like he was up to speed anyway. And then you look at the way that he's had the first round match against Lonzo Hyun, barely got himself through to the second round. Yes, he had a comfortable win against the opposition player. I can't even think who it was. I think it was Ian Burns. Was it Ian Burns? Was it someone else? Can't remember. But anyway, he managed to win that match 5-1. But, he wasn't really playing a top 16 player, was he? And now, he gets Gary Wilson to be playing against him. Clearly, he's going to be playing really well right now. But the problem for Zhao is that he's not even testing him. He's leaving him those chances. And Wilson being the attacking player, well, what's he going to do with them? Of course, he's going to try and take the maximum out of them. And in the end, it is one chance. If you take it, that's fine. If you don't take it, then I'll be the one to take it. And that's been the story of the match so far. Zhao has managed to take 2 of those chances to the extent that Wilson was nowhere near to be catching him. And on the other 4 occasions, it was 3 centuries and a break of 83 points as well. So, Zhao, you sometimes need to play safe, not try every shot. Well, It's a little bit too late for that, but it may be, as I say, I don't feel like that's going to be something that crosses his mind one bit, but it may be something for you to consider ahead of the World Championship, because, you know, a bad player is the one that only has a one plan. And as a world champion, and as a player that is going to be very much one of the favourites for the world crown, you need to realise you need to have a plan B. So when you're not utilising your brilliant long shot game, or the positional play or post success are not going super well for you, you need to have a plan B to try and take a step backwards. And this would have been the perfect chance for him to try and do that, because he's got the opposition player which doesn't have the plan B either, which is why I could have actually seen this one to go all the way in favour of Zhao or all the way in favour of Gary Wilson. You very rarely see two players like that. By the way, Zhao is about to go for a really risky raid. He nearly got it. Nearly doesn't count in snooker. Now, how far away is the cue ball going to go? He's going to go quite close to that raid, so I feel like it's going to be possible. But once again, it's a chance that he's left over to Wilson. And for the way that we've seen the match to develop, this is going to go all the way in favour of Gary Wilson. He just needs to try and control the cue ball here to make sure he's not going to catch the black badly. He has got the black badly. And that's a disappointing run that for Wilson, because he could have easily ended the match there. And in the end, he's probably going to score just a single point here. Listen, before Wilson has got a really strong foot in this frame, Zhao always has a chance, because as much as it's taken Wilson one frame to find himself from being on the back foot massively to being the favourite to be winning every single one of those frames, he'll be the same for Zhao Xingtong. And as soon as Wilson is going to find himself away from his seat, away from the table, and he's going to find himself, look, like, I'm getting rusty, I'm getting a bit cold, and Zhao Xingtong is getting all the warm that he can get off the cloth. You know, he's getting the table time, he's realising what he needs to do, he's feeling the cue ball. All those factors are going to come into his hands should he be able to win at least one of those frames. Listen, like, if he wins this frame, he's not going to be the favourite on paper, but he's still going to have very much the ability to try and win the remainder of the match. The problem is, it's the fine edge which is missing. He nearly potted the cue ball and the red at the same pocket at the same time there, trying to take a straight line shot into the right corner. But you can see he just needs to click for him. The problem is, he's running out of frames for that to click and for that click to appear. The good news is, he hasn't left anything easier way to Wilson. He's got a red available into the right corner, which probably is the one that you can afford to take when you've got a gap of 4 frames to 2. And now let's see if the Lady Luck is going to favour Gary Wilson even more right now, because he was bound to leave a red pretty much over the pocket there for Zhao Xingtong. But the blue seems to have come into play, and he has. Yeah, this is now the sign that this is not meant to be there. And this snooker match is decided, and it's going to be really difficult for Zhao Xingtong to try and turn a page like that. So let's see. The cue ball is going to be heading all that way to try and land in behind the green. Another thing that you can try and use there is that Wilson is not necessarily firing on all cylinders for himself, in terms of the way that he needs to try and win this frame. He needs to try and start from somewhere. When he gets that start, this is where you're hopeless and you can't do anything about it. But before he gets that opportunity, make sure you're going to be the one that gets it first. And then this is going to be the real chance for you to try and keep Wilson quiet for the remainder of the frame. And this, just one safety shot that he's played, and he may have bought himself a decent opportunity here, Zhao Xingtong. Yeah, the red surely should disappear right now, and it does. I tell you what, I said it, Zhao Xingtong is going to be capable of trying to come back from this match. But if he does do that, he needs to be now. And he needs to do that with a really convincing break that he's been due for a while here. As I say, I've got that luxury setup with still having potentially Weezer, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Judd Trump and Zhao Xingtong still battling away to get themselves into the quarterfinal. But if we're going to have the golden lineup of Weezer, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Judd Trump and Zhao Xingtong, I mean, you couldn't dream of a better lineup, potentially all still being in that hunt for the semi-final spots. And for me, that will make it probably the best tournament, purely from their names point of view, that we've seen this season. And Zhao Xingtong is going to be a very important asset to that name. as he now positions himself in a very difficult situation, by the way, because he's got the pink to be lined up into the middle, and then this is where the problem's going to start, really, for him, because a break of 13 points, he's got 2 more reds available to himself, but what's he going to be after that? And also, which of these colours is he going to be using with those reds? He's got the black quite close to the green pocket, which should be able to pot if he gets that cue ball next to it, but he needed to pot the red first, and this is what I mean. When you spend so much time outside of the table, even simple shots like that can be a bit of a nightmare for you, and it's now going to be just a break of 13 points there, and Zhao is going to come back to his seat. The good news is, it hasn't left anything, and Wilson still has got that problem of trying to get started with something, but the good news for Wilson is going to have to be the factor of him having the first shot to play, although he could have got a lot more out of that cue ball. Barely sees it cross the bog line and go to the top end of it. So then Zhao got a 12 points advantage here, which in this position, I mean, even if you talk about trying to win it with, you know, spending an hour or something like that on the frame win. Oh, I mean, look at that for Zhao. That was brilliant of a long shot. I couldn't even see that one coming. Let's see if he's going to get the position on the black. He certainly will. That was a pure moment of brilliance. Yes, there was a sign of desperation there, but you're not going to be blaming him for when he makes a brilliant red like that whilst getting the cue ball safe. And now positioning himself nicely for the black, which I mentioned would have been pretty much over the pocket. He's still got a cut now to try and make. Let's see if he's going to have any one of those reds to be aiming for at the lower end of the table. Yeah, he seems like he's going to be forced to go for the one along the side cushion. So, I mean, it doesn't really get easier than that. One thing I'll say in defense of Zhao, the luck clearly has not been on his side, because every single time Wilson gets the opportunity, the position is absolutely about as easy as it gets for him. Right now, Zhao has got a second chance, but I feel like the mistake is very much coming for him. Not here, though. I expected it to come there. I didn't say it, because it would have been slightly disrespectful there, but I did expect him to miss that raid along the side cushion. He didn't. He's still going to be just about on the black, but once again, it's going to come down to the next couple of shots. This black needs to be made into the corner, and he also needs to try and get that cue ball to be stuck into those reds. And he got the cue ball stuck into those reds, but he didn't pot the black. I said the mistake was coming, and it was always just a matter of time. Zhao unable to get through to that grinding zone. And what did I say about the position? Just as he makes that position look absolutely easy, he misses the shot penultimate to it, and now Gary Wilson is going to have a very easy position indeed ahead of himself. You know, apart from not having the black available to him, he's going to be about as easy as it can get. He's just thinking about the short selection to try and get himself started with. But this red about to disappear into the left corner here. So just looking to see if he's going to have a real issue, which is going to stop him from winning this frame in a single visit to the table. I mean, he should have enough points there for him not to be needing the 2 reds that are probably going to be classified as a one with a problem. And 2 reds equals 65 points for Zhao. So if he's going to be able to score sort of 60 points out of this break, then it should be framing the match over for him. And yeah, just trying to get this cue ball all the way around the table. Very much lined up for the blue again. He needs that cue ball to keep rolling. And he's managed to do that. Of course, the fact that he's going to be taking those reds with the blue is going to have to be considered as well, because that makes you lose a couple of those points in the meantime. So what's it going to be then? Is it going to be just trying to roll this cue ball lines up for the red to be taken into the middle? For now, it's just going to be looking at the lower end of those reds available to himself. So for now, just try and get the top spin of the cue ball to be started. So the interesting thing is, he's about to find himself, and the next red and blue combination there, will find himself ahead in this frame for the first time, which leaves him with 6 more reds to try and take, to try and extend that advantage even further. Yeah, he will need all of these reds there at that stage, I will say, because he's going to have to try and find a gap of more than 35 points, and that's not going to be the case if you're going to be playing those shots with the blue. And he got himself into a bit of a nasty situation here, though. He's going to have a ping to be available, but he needs to play the shot with power. He managed to get a couple of those reds to be spread out there, but ultimately it's now going to come down to trying to make this pink in and also getting the position on those reds to be lined up. Is the pink going to drop? He will, just about using the entire width of the pocket. So now he manages to sort out an important issue there, but he's still got a couple more of those to try and make his way through. Now then, let's do the maths. He's got 44 points of the advantage. The remaining 5 reds, if you don't touch at least one of those reds, is going to be 40 points that he can score. So that leaves him with 44 that he can try and get maximum. But with the pink and the black not being in an ideal situation, I feel like he's going to be touch and go there. But you probably will need at least one of those reds. And yeah, especially with him now going all the way for the bold colours and actually placing that cue ball pretty badly there alongside the green. Yeah, he's certainly going to need every single one of those reds, which puts him down to the test a little bit there for him. GG, not quite yet. And yeah, he needs to get this green into the pocket first. See if he's going to be able to do so. Yes, he does. So that's a good shot for him to get started. But still, he's only going to get 8 points out of the advantage there. And he's going to get 32 more. So he's 5 points safe there in terms of if he was to take all those reds with a pink, then he still should be more than 35 points clear. With, you know, only having 1 red to be left out available. But another interesting thing for me to be seeing is that has he got 2 of those reds to be available into the left corner independently of each other? Because if that is the case, it makes the life slightly easier for Wilson as well. It doesn't seem like he's bothered about either one of those 2. So that's certainly going to be the indication that that is certainly the case. And once again, Zhao just had to try and score a couple more of those points, but that has been the story of the match for him. And he simply has not done enough for him to be taken all the way here. Let's see if this red is going to disappear into the left corner. And Wilson clearly is going to be positioning that cue ball super close to those 2 reds. He's clearly going to leave that red on the side cushion till the end. Let's see if he's going to need it though, because I said he needs to be taking all of those reds with a pink. So far he's managed to do that pretty well. He doesn't want to be straight on this red though, because he still needs to try and find the colour out of it. So then this is now going to be about as close to the finish line as he can get. 22 points is the advantage. If he gets 14 points out of it, that's going to get him 36 points of the advantage. And that is going to be enough there, but he's going to have the 2 really difficult shots there to be, 3 difficult shots to be played, because the pink is not a gimme. And then for you to try and line yourself up for another shot at the red is going to be even more difficult. And that's what's always coming for me. Zhao was always going to come back to the table for one more time. Wilson left it too much for himself to do there. And now we've got 3 issues standing in the way of Zhao to try and win this frame. The first one is the first shot that he's about to take. The red into the corner. He's played that one with power. He's trying to make it try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And I tell you what, he's had a lot of a gamble. And I'm not sure it has paid off. Once again, no reaction in his face. But there was a little bit of a reaction there, which suggests to me he's not going to be lined up for the blue. And even if he is, to be fair, he's got pretty much no chance of trying to take it all the way around the table and still be lined up for the red. He's got the blue, and he's not going to have the position on the red. In fact, he's going to be lucky if he's not going to be snookered out there. So he's managed to get one of those issues sorted, but he's not going to sort it for himself, and it's just going to be a safety battle for us to be seeing. Ooh, we got this one horribly snookered there, so yeah, you feel like this is just getting worse from Zhao, and he needed a really clean frame for him to be all the way around and trying to make it a 4-3 of a deficit. In the end, it looks like he's about to play one of his last shots there. A bit of a hidden hope. Let's see where the red is going to finish. It's looking like it's going to finish in a bit of a nice situation there, although, I mean, he's probably still going to be in the attacking display. Force the brown even closer to the side cushion, and Wilson surely will sense the blood, and he'll try and go for the kill now. He can try and take this red on. He's going to look at the scoreboard. He's not really going to have a fantastic safety shot that he's going to be sort of missing here. Just try and take this red. If you miss it, you've got a 2-frame advantage for a reason, and then you've got the brown to be safe as well. If I was Wilson, I genuinely would be going for this one, because sometimes you just need to take a step forward to make sure you kill your prey before he actually steps up to the table and does a bit more damage to you. And that's exactly what he's done. So as long as he gets the position on the collar, he's going to be lined up for the quarterfinal appearance. So then he takes the red nicely. He's going to get himself a lead of 18 points with that. So as long as he takes, well, it doesn't really matter if he takes the yellow or the pink. He should be lined up for the yellow and green after that. And that will get him comfortably clear of the 22 points of a need. Well, he can't get through to either yellow or pink, it would seem. So he needs to be taking the green. And he needs to try and get that cue ball all the way across the table. But once again, he plays a really good shot. And now he's going to be lined up for basically a frame ball there. 21 points clear. The yellow should keep the cue ball nicely lined up for the green, which will be a frame and therefore the match ball for Wilson. And just about got that yellow in, rattled in the jaws. But in the end, that's going to be the only thing that probably was a bit close that for comfort for Wilson. And certainly nothing has gone the way of Zhao today. And he's going to find himself out of another tournament there. He didn't get too far in the Welsh Open, lost out in the last 16. And the history is going to repeat itself here, it will seem. He's going to have one snooker to tie here, but Wilson should be able to force a brown over the pocket, if not entirely into the pocket there. And it is going to be game over, Zhao, and that is going to be frame and the match over to Gary Wilson. So unfortunately, we're not going to have the perfect lineup, and Zhao is going to be eliminated out of the World Open, but maybe he's going to be saving very much the best till last of the World Championship campaign. And Gary Wilson thought there was going to be a handshake. I actually thought there was going to be a handshake. I don't really understand what Zhao is going to try and battle it out for, but he still keeps himself in the equation. So he's going to pot the blue, which makes it even more ridiculous to me. And he's going to try and get... So what is he trying to achieve there? 25 points, 2 snookers on the pink and the black. I mean, okay, we're going to be here for a while then, because it's going to be really difficult for Wilson to try. And that was a decent attempt that from Zhao. It's not quite going to get him the 12 points that he needs, but it was a decent enough attempt for him to try and take this one all the way. Get the snooker lined up in behind the black, but it was always going to be an easy escape for Wilson. And puts the pink quite far away from the cue ball. So, yeah, obviously just disappointment that from Zhao. And he's going to be back in Manchester for the Tour Championship. He certainly qualified for that one. Probably going to be the world number 2 when he comes to the 1-year list. Only behind Neil Robertson that managed to get 500 worth of 1,000 of ranking points right at the start of the season in Saudi Masters. Now just trying to take this pink all the way to the left corner there. Of course, that's going to be the target for Gary Wilson. Just try and make sure you eliminate this one and just put it as far away down the table and as far away from the cue ball as possible for him. Once again, Zhao looking to find the edge of the black there. Seems to have done a decent job with that. Again, yes, Letitia turning up just about in time for the match to be ending, really. Because Zhao needs to find 2 snookers on the pink and the black. I'm surprised by the score right now. Good shape for Wilson. Yes, disappointing for me as a Zhao supporter. But yeah, he was well underneath his best game today. And Wilson had 3 century breaks with a break of 83 points before this frame has started. And yeah, he certainly deserves all the credit. And he's about to pot the pink as well to make it very much a dominant win in the end against the world champion. I think Zhao's trying to play like Ronnie. Well, he's got all the tools to be doing that. But sometimes even Ronnie can't win all of these matches. Surprised that Wilson doesn't pot the pink, but surely just a matter of time. Well, which match we'll be calling next? Ryan Day against Ronnie O'Sullivan. So it'll be the quarterfinal in the morning in Europe tomorrow. It'll be the afternoon session in China. And then we'll see which quarterfinal. It's either going to be no quarterfinal or maybe Judd Trump against Jaganda. Maybe it'll be Gary Wilson against Jip Choanu because it'll be a quick one. But yeah, I would have been hoping for a little matchup including Zhao, but that's not going to be the case clearly. Once again, suggestion from Wilson that there was an element of faded. I would have think Zhao had the lead. Indeed, nobody can always win. Yes, that is true. And he had the lead of a single frame to 0 and he had a good opportunity to try and take it to a 2-0 advantage. Didn't manage to take it, and he's gone downhill for him ever since. And once again, those fine margins, he was super close to be getting a snooker there in behind the black, but he was super close throughout the entire match. But he seems to always be lacking one shot there. He seems to get the position into a perfect shape, but miss the colour or the red previous to that one. And that's how Wilson was able to get those chances for him. But yeah, he's going to get a really good opportunity to try and get himself lined up through to the semi-final appearance. So let's see which way that match is going to go. As yeah, as I say, just a matter of time, and it's clearly going to be just a little bit of a frustration that from Zhao. Don't really understand what he's trying to do there. If he was one snooker on the ping, then I would understand it, but for it to be 2 snookers to try and achieve on the ping, then, you know, you're not really going to achieve that in 1,000 years, even if you try to. But, you know, he didn't get loads of the table time, so he's probably just trying to compensate for it now. And he's going to get this ping quite close to the right middle. And I'll tell you what, Zhao is actually playing all the good safety shots, and I wonder where all of those have been in the previous couple of frames. He's just trying to wake up his safety game a bit too late out there. And Gary Wilson is going to try and double the pink all the way into the left corner. Not going to get too far with that one. Zhao is going to basically try and get the pink away from the pocket here. So got the double kiss. Quite fortunate not to be leaving the pink away. But once again, it seems like all the fortune and all the good play from Zhao is coming in the wrong time there. And Wilson is going to try and double the pink into the right corner. It looks like it will disappear. And yeah, good luck trying to keep this one away. Zhao is not going to bother. And it is going to be a win for Gary Wilson. It's a deserved one. Zhao will be disappointed, but hopefully for himself, he'll be able to take the lesson from that and come back stronger in the Tour Championship. And then, of course, very much trying to break the Crucible curse and retain his crowd in Sheffield of the World Championship. For now, though, the party and the lights and the spotlight are going to belong to Gary Wilson, that takes out the reigning world champion, and he leaves himself into a quarter-final match with, supposedly, Chipchaya. See you all in the match of Gary Wilson against Chipchaya potentially. I'm not sure about that one, but certainly Ryan Day against Ronnie O'Sullivan in the morning in Europe, in afternoon in China. Feel free to be tuned in for that one. Thank you very much for everyone that tuned in today. Feel free to hit the like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll speak to you soon.